Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I just got back from an early press screening of the new film We Live in Time. This is an A24 film directed by John Crowley, who gave us Brooklyn, which is a movie I adored the year it came out, and one that kept rising in my appreciation. He also did The Goldfinch, which was under some ridicule when it came out. I thought the film was just, it's fine, which I guess I think fine was better than a lot of other people who didn't like it. But directed by Crowley, stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh as two people who are in a relationship, but instead of watching the relationship of the romance, or I guess occasionally romantic comedy, but I think the film is definitely more of a romance film, from beginning to end of their relationship, and we hop around in time in specific moments of that relationship. So it's, instead of a narrative straightforward, the film itself and the viewer is witnessing various moments back and forth in time. In a lot of ways, this takes the traditional romance film and probably the traditional romance narrative that we've come accustomed to, but it adds an element of fable almost. It adds an element of mystery. It adds pieces of basically a puzzle, because the way in which, and especially with the editing, the way in which Crowley and the editor are able to take scenes that jump from one sequence to a related sequence in the past or future, kind of pulls the rug out from under you. And it allows you to kind of put together the elements of where these characters are at in their specific time periods. It seems like it could be something that could be very confusing, but through the use of hair and makeup, through the use of style, they are able to plant us in specific areas and occasionally make us question when we are, but I think intentionally so. I found the film to be, I'll be clear right now. I'm having a hard time thinking of a single romance film from the last 24 years that has had the impact, at least, I'll say last 2 decades. I'm having trouble with coming up with a single romance film that has had the impact on me that We Live in Time had. I was emotional the whole time through. The story was beautifully crafted. And I think the elements of being kind of lost in time with them was specifically what worked, because I was able to clue into what Crowley was going for. And that was presenting that a life itself is not, strictly speaking, the entirety of the life. A life is built up of moments. And sometimes viewing those moments out of context creates a beauty and an intimacy that singular memory doesn't really cover. You know, you remember the way in which your child was born. You remember that in a very specific way in your mind, even if it's not 100% how that moment went. And I think the way in which this film covers those life-altering moments, good, bad, and ugly, all together like that, but doesn't, strictly speaking, give you that through line, allows you to appreciate the intimate, smaller moments. And there are a number of major moments in We Live in Time, and there are a number of very small moments in We Live in Time that all together just created this emotional roller coaster that I was on, because every moment the film cut to a new sequence, I had to figure out where my footing was again. So it keeps you on your toes, but at the same time, you know all the things you've known up until this point. So again, it kind of felt a bit almost like a romance Pulp Fiction, or to an extent Memento, because you have pieces. As the film goes on, you're able to construct a narrative of what's happened in their relationship. But I think showing it in chronological order wouldn't have had the same emotional impact as showing it out of order, presented strictly through these singular elements of life. And I think they did a great job opening the film, because they open with Florence Pugh making breakfast for Andrew Garfield, and then we jump forward in time to another significant moment in their life, and then forward in time again. And then the film kind of caught me off guard because it jumped back. And when it jumped back, that was when I realized, okay, we're in for something different here. We're in for something wholly unique. This movie is made with great performances. Pugh and Garfield are phenomenal, and I would love to see both of them get acting nominations for this film. I think they have some of the best chemistry. Their romance is beautiful. Their sex is real, and their sex is emotional, and it's also fun. And it feels like two people who actually have lived a life together. They are hot and steamy when they need to be. They're also at their ugliest together. I think it captures everything that happens with a life, and it made me so incredibly emotional. I remember leaving the theater and, like, you know, we fill out some of these cards when we leave the theater to give feedback to the studio, and I had my feedback written down. I handed it off, but then I was like, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about what I've experienced in this movie right now. And I drove home in complete silence. I got home, I hugged my wife, she went to bed, and I had to come down here to film this video. And I'm still reeling from the experience. Like, so often in this film, I got chills running up and down my body, goosebumps from just what I was witnessing. And I think this is easily one of my favorite movies of the year. If I watched it again, it might be my favorite movie of the year. Right now, it's sitting at my, like, second favorite. I'm still a big Dune boy, so clearly I'm a Florence Pugh fan. But yeah, this movie is one of my top films of the year. I can't imagine it being knocked off that top 10. An incredible movie, one of my favorite romances of all time. I mean, this is up there with When Harry Met Sally, with The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, with In the Mood for Love. This is up there with those, with the big heavy hitters of the romance genre. I adored this movie. It left me emotionally drained, but I experienced something that was very beautiful. I got to experience two people's lives together, and I think that is extremely important. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Please, when this film opens in theaters, which I think is the weekend of October 11th, go and check it out. Take your loved one with you and experience We Live in Time. It is one of the best films that I have ever seen, and I loved it. I'm so excited for you to check it out, and when you do, please come back and tell me your thoughts down in the comment section below. Remember, while you're down there, you can like and subscribe. Comments, liking, subscribing, they all help boost the channel, and they make sure you also never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also find goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. I'll have to work on a review for We Live in Time tomorrow morning. You can check out Goat Film Reviews on Facebook as well. You can also follow me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. And you can find my show, Kyle and Nick on Film. I co-host it with Nick Palachuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. And you can also find a link in the video description here for the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, of which I am a member. You can check out other film critics' reviews of We Live in Time, as well as more of my stuff too. Thank you so much for joining me.